Welcome to Three Homeless Guys, the podcast about the Palisades fire and the rebuilding effort. I'm Joel Pollack here with Ron Goldschmidt and Oren Ezra, welcoming you to an episode in which we're going to discuss debris removal. But first, before we do that, let's just go around and get some input about what's on our minds this week. Ron, let's start with you.
Yeah, got a lot of great feedback about our first episode. I think we're going to be doing some concentrated episodes going forward, which is very exciting, starting with today. Um, One of the things that uh, a lot of people are talking about is rebuilding costs, and I think folks are trying to go out there and starting to get quotes from people and from contractors and trying to understand what their costs are going to be. And they're trying to understand where that falls in line with their insurance policy and how much money they have to spend on the costs versus what they are going to have from their insurance providers. And that's becoming a topic that's very prevalent. I think it will become more prevalent as people get through the debris removal process uh, and construction. I think there's a lot of different scenarios under which people are under, and that's kind of like what I'm seeing. And I think we'll have an episode about this coming up. As far as like what's in the news, I think people are waiting for instructions on what's happening on the next step, which is the debris removal over the weekend. There was obviously some news that came out about Mayor Bass, and you'll probably have something to say about that, Joel. Um, and kind of the rebuilding effort. People are joining Zoom calls, scrounging information wherever they can. It hasn't been a lot of news coming out lately in the last few days from any level, maybe because of the weekend. But I think people are kind of like waiting for the next shoe to fall and for phase one to be over, which had ended today, or it appears to have some phase two is starting this week, which is positive. But I think people are interested to know where they are in the queue and set. And so,
Go ahead, Oren.
So I'm first of all excited for my friend Ron that finally today his family managed to go from their house all the way to the west side and all the way to Malibu. First time after like 3 weeks, PCH, they managed to figure out how to drive through PCH. And I think this is like a big thing to a lot of people that like having a hard time like scheduling and like figuring out if they need to like us, we moved to like the northern part of Malibu, and my wife had to go this morning to the other side of town, and they took her like 2.5 hours in the morning, and then on the way back, she figured out where she can get the pass, and to go back home was like less than an hour. So I think this is something we'll all are going to live with in the next like I don't know, year or two. With all the fires and with all the roads collapsing, and I would love to like if anybody has any information or any knowledge of how they can fix it and at least get us somehow to like normal movement, at least for the tenants or people that live on this side of town. I know that like a lot of businesses are going to get hurt because of this road closure, and I'm just like thinking to myself, who is helping them? What's going on? I know there is like SBA loans and we might be able to talk about this. And another thing that was on my mind today, I looked on my cameras from the day of the fire, that the fire started, and I showed it to one of my friends, and my cameras were up until 4:15. And so I had electricity and I had gas. And the reason why I know I had gas is because like at 4:15, I have a video from one of my cameras showing like gas coming out, and like you see the fire like increasing every time the gas is coming out. And we have friends in Point Doom that day they didn't have electricity, didn't have gas. They didn't have gas, I think, for like a week and a half or something like this. They didn't have electricity for 4 or 5 days. And over there in the Palisade area in Sunset Mesa, where we're from, gas was on and electricity was on until the house like totally burned down and blew up. So that's some another topic that we'll have to talk about down the line.
And I think that, back to on Oren's first point with the road closures, this is impacting more the folks that live in Malibu. I'm one of them. They kind of had to pick a side and either go on the other side of the PCH closure, which is Malibu, or, Santa Monica, Westwood, where it's less impactful for folks that have moved there. But I know for myself and several other family, this is like a very tormenting issue, and it's going to remain so if the PCH closures remain. And one just small comment on that, last week the road closures were announced the day ahead of due to weather. However, it was announced I think on Monday that the road would be closed from Tuesday to Friday. However, the weather was fine on Tuesday. There was no reason to close it. Yet it was still closed. And so this is again like something that I think is easily preventable with like real time, kind of reaction to things. I know like we're big government and we're trying to kind of decide things for a big group of people, but the whole day could have just gone through without having any impact on the road closures. Yet they've decided to close it for all the day without even knowing like that the weather was going to be bad. And so that didn't need to happen until really Wednesday, if at all. So um, again, I think like long term, as we go into like a longer rebuilding process, we just need to have better controls, better communication around these things. And I think like it's a small thing, but if we're going to do this, we got to do this like in the best way possible. And this is just a telltale for me that the process could be improved.
Well, I have three stories on my mind, and let me start with the protest at the Will Rogers State Beach. A lot of residents are upset that the EPA is storing the hazardous material there before they remove it. And I guess the parking lot at the beach is where they're storing it, to be more precise. That's apparently going to be used for other debris as well. So that's going to be an issue. And I was actually wondering what summer programs to sign my kids up for, because my daughter did junior lifeguard last year, and I'm starting to think, do I want my kids swimming at that beach? So it might factor into some other decisions. So people are obviously concerned about that. Then there was a story over the weekend. The LA Times reported that Steve Soberoff, who's the city's chief recovery officer, he's not getting paid by the city, but he is getting paid by private philanthropy, $500,000 for 3 months of work. And Mayor Bass apparently told him to work for free. So now he's working for free for 3 months. That was a big scandal. And the big one that I'm focused on right now is the one that I reported, where the city hired this contractor, this consulting firm. It's not clear to me what the firm is supposed to do. Soberoff told me that it's going to be an owner's rep, basically to oversee the rebuilding process. I don't know why we need that in particular, but okay, there are agencies, there are levels of government. There are so many people doing so many things. What you need is someone to coordinate all of it. So maybe that's what they're supposed to do. I don't know. We don't know how much they're getting paid. Soberoff told me there'd be a competitive bidding process. Evidently, there was a competitive bidding process, but it was all done behind closed doors. They chose this firm, Haggerty Consulting. Haggerty Consulting is based in Evanston, Illinois, which is near where I'm from originally. I grew up in Skokie, Illinois, which is next door to Evanston. Evanston, Illinois is a very nice place, but it's not particularly well run. In fact, they didn't have a city manager for something like 2 years or something. They had a big scandal there a few years ago. So I'm not sure why we want a firm from Evanston, Illinois to handle disaster relief or any kind of management, but whatever. They hired Haggerty. And I discovered as I was looking into the firm that they had two senior recovery officers, at least one of whom was an independent contractor, but he was working for Haggerty at the time. Two senior officers working on the Hurricane Sandy recovery effort for Haggerty, and they defrauded the city, that is to say New York City, of hundreds of thousands of dollars by claiming reimbursement for travel and accommodation that they weren't entitled to get. And they pleaded guilty in federal court. They didn't get severe sentences or anything, but why would we hire a consulting firm that has a recent history? These guilty pleas were in 2022 and 2023. It's not ancient history. Why would we hire a consulting firm that has this track record of mismanaging money? And we already have problems with FEMA fraud and all kinds of things. And this was done behind closed doors. So I think the city, if I put it charitably, the city doesn't know how to conduct business in public. And on something like this, they're going to need to be very public, and the public wants to know. And people in Palisades have already been bypassed for so many things. We don't know who appointed Steve Soboroff. He might be a very nice guy, might be the best guy for the job, but we don't know how it happened. We don't know what decisions are being made. The Will Rogers State Beach parking lot decision was essentially made and then just given to people. So I think it's the beginning of a much bigger story about how this is going to happen. And you'll see as we discuss debris removal with our incredible guests in a moment, that often it's citizens who have to lead, and it's the city and the county who have to learn how to adapt to the project of getting something done, because maybe they're not used to getting anything done. But anyway, without any further ado, I want to bring in our panel that we recorded just before this, where we talked about the issues around debris removal and just how difficult it can be, what the options are, and how to go about doing it yourself if you want to. And just before we play that, I want to just give you the website address for the podcast one more time, as well as the email address. We are 3homelessguys.com, THREE homelessguys.com. And the email is pod@3homelessguys.com. So Ron, Oren, with your permission, let's play that discussion about debris removal. We are very pleased now to welcome our very first guests on the Three Homeless Guys podcast. And they're here to talk with us about debris removal, which is a topic that is on everyone's mind right now in the Palisades. We have Will Wyatt and Gital Sasi. And I'm going to throw to Will first to introduce himself, and then Gital, and we'll take it from there.
Hey guys, and thanks for having me. We live in the Huntington in the Palisades, and we unfortunately lost our house, and so it started this odyssey over the last month to try to sort through and navigate, how to rebuild not only our house but also others around us who are facing similar circumstances. So by day I run a investment bank, and it's a merchant bank, and we have an investment management platform called the Donnerell Group. By night I've turned into this, driven down these rabbit holes of how do you get things done in an ecosystem where it seems very challenging to get things done. And I'll tell you that it's led down, a lot of interesting pathways as to, all the various problems and discrete issues that we are facing as Palisadians to get the community up and running. One of which is debris removal. Happy to talk about that, but there's a number of other things that are also sort of percolating, and I'm happy to run through it, and thrilled to be here.
Before we go to Gital, I just have to ask you, the Huntington wasn't one of the worst hit areas. What happened with your house in particular?
Listen, like everybody, we had bad luck to some degree, or to a certain degree. We live almost all the way down to Corona del Mar. So if you think about where the map is, if you're not familiar, just look at the map, in the lower southwest corner is sort of where we are. We're at the very tip at almost at sunset, but there's a bluff there. Tuesday night came and went. We were fine. Wednesday, we were fine. Wednesday evening, I got a call from a friend who's like, "I think your house is on fire." And it was just, we kind of got the bad luck. I think of the 160 homes that are southwest of Pampas Ricas, which is that main thoroughfare cutting the Huntington in half. I think there were 5 or 6 homes that burned. We were one of them. And it was just, it was one of those bad luck things. The embers got stuck in the neighbor's attic, set a whole row of houses on fire. I think we were, we were lucky. We had 4 trucks, we had water, we had sort of every resource you could ever want. They just couldn't stop it. I told my wife, funnily enough, I told my wife when we were evacuating, and she'll tell you this, when we were evacuating, and I'm asking her what she wants me to bring in the suitcase. I said, "Hon, there's no way we could burn, because thousands of homes would have to burn before us. I think we'd be the last home in the Palisades to burn." And I think we were. I think we're the last home in the Palisades to burn. So at least I got half that right. But no, we were unfortunate. I think that the silver lining, of course, the silver lining maybe in some of these stories is that, our neighborhood's fine. I mean, so I think the rebuild back for us may be easier than for others.
Is
Thanks,
that
Will.
why?
That's-
Is that
yeah.
why you were also like kind of? I've seen you on media being, kind of like leading the charge in terms of doing like private debris removal and going through the process as quickly as possible. Is that also part of the calculus of why you're trying to get back in there as fast as possible? Because the neighborhood is standing, you just want to get it done and over with, and you want to overcome all the hurdles as fast as possible. Is Is that part of the calculus?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think there's kind of two things I'd say, and I'm speaking broadly. Is one, who doesn't want to be in their home faster, right? So okay, so let's move. This rental's fine, but again, how do we just expedite things to make it go quickly? It terrified me that the Army Corps is saying there's up to 18 months for debris removal. That seems totally crazy to me. There's, if you go back and look at all the studies and all the past, issues where FEMA's had to move, look what happened in North Carolina. It's pretty bad in terms of the speed, the efficacy, with which they moved. That was terrifying to me. That woke me up, and I said, I can't wait 18 months to start building, and then 2 to 3 years or 4 years to build. I mean, I'll never be back. And so when I had that recognition, I said to my wife, I go, we got to go, and let's look at the private options. And for many people are insured, and we can talk about that. It's a whole other rabbit hole we've gone down, but we have insurance to be able to cover it, and so we're fortunate in that regard. And so let's go get it done. How do we do it? And that started this kind of circuitous path to getting it done. And when we started, of course, I think you guys know this, we started the cleanup today. So I think we were the first home in the Palisades to clean up. We haven't even finished all the permitting. We'll talk about that if you'd like. But the second part of it, which is the most important part, is every single step we heard, whether it was on insurance, whether it was on cleanup, whether it was on rebuilding costs, whether it was on civic centers and the parks, whatever it was always this negative, gosh, no, it's not working. Nothing's working. Or it's just, the city's full of shit. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to curse. The city has been
You're
misleading
allowed
in
to
terms
curse.
of misleading in terms of its permitting. It's not 30 days. It's not. Ask anybody. It's not been 30 days for anybody. No one can get a permit in. So how do you begin to take matters in your own hands to highlight we can do it? And by the way, we don't need them. And so that's how this started. This started as a we don't need the city. And then I do believe, and then through kind of just all of us have different networks, there's an incredible network in the Palisades, an incredible network of people everywhere, from the federal government to the state government, now to the local government, which I've been very involved with, that want to help us and maybe now are forced to help us because we are putting so much media attention on them. All that's fantastic. Let's show people there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not 18 months. I'm telling you, it's not. It's gonna be much, much faster. And how do we keep on making it, the light at the end of the tunnel seem brighter?
All right. So, Will, we're going to throw back to you in a minute, but let's go to Gital for an introduction. Gital, welcome to Three Homeless Guys. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Gital Sasi, and I represent Tom of the Line Demolition. We are a demolition company, and we specialize in demolition and hauling debris, excavation work, and grading work. We've got tons of phone calls since the fire has started, and we're here to see how we can help homeowners. The focus is basically the homeowners and how we can help them make this the most fastest and easiest process for them after everything that they have been through. And we've been struggling. I'll tell you that. We've been struggling. Today, I actually got a response, my first response from the county of what needs to be done after running after them for the past 3 weeks with zero communication. Like they have nothing to help us with. And it's just really frustrating, you know?
When you say struggling,
Every
you mean you're struggling with the county government.
getting
Yeah.
answers to understand what is going to be the process for contractors. How can we help the homeowners? And every time that I call the hotline or I call the county bring me back to the hotline. The hotline tells me we don't have answers for you guys yet. You guys need to wait. Wait for what? Let us know what you guys want us to do. How do you want us to treat the debris? Where do you want us to take it? Zero
Gital,
answers
maybe
until today.
tell us a little bit about the example of Ventura County. Compare Ventura
Oh,
County to LA County.
yeah. So Ventura County had a fire a few months back, and they gave us the most easiest protocols in the world, gave us landfills, told us how they want the debris to be treated. In 3 days, we could have started to remove debris out with no craziness of so many permits, so many inspections needed, very easy and simple. And now what we're struggling with LA County, they want now a pre-inspection, like even before you even get a permit, they want us to get an asbestos test then to get it inspected. They want to check the survey. so many steps in the way that if we could have just give them an asbestos test and let's go, let's start, let's move the ball. We can't do it yet. It's
Why don't
really
they just move the
frustrating.
debris to Ventura County?
I asked that. I called Ventura County, and Ventura County told me we're not part of the LA County. It's just like they're so squared.
So this is
Yeah.
interesting because, Oren, you brought this up last time, but also when I was at the meeting with Rick Grinnell and with the EPA director or administrator, Lee Zeldin, residents were saying that they had all filled out their ROE, and then the Army Corps of Engineers General, Jason Kelly, said to them, well, then the county will get us the list. It seemed like the county was the slow factor getting the list of people who had agreed to allow the Army onto their property and moving the process forward. And Rick Grinnell said, who's the supervisor here? Oh, it's Lindsay Horvath. So let's get to Lindsay. I mean, is that what has to happen? We have to call her office and get her to do something?
Will, can you enlighten us on like what you've encountered so far? And I know you've reached some breakthrough today, and kind of give us the up to date, you know, process and path that you've taken and what you've heard so far.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to comment directly on the county versus city discussion that was just had. I don't know about the county versus city discussion. We ran into some problems today at the very end of the day on county landfill problems. But that's the city's acquiescing to everything we're asking for at this point, because I do think the city is. I think, by the way, the people we're working with are good people, and right or left wing, I'm telling you, they're good people, and they want to try to help us, and they're going to help us. They are helping. Is 15 minutes ago, I'm getting emails, so we're getting. There's an incredible amount of momentum in the city. I do know the county holds a lot of the control of the landfills, and so there's a back and forth there that's got to be sorted out. Yeah, listen, let me tell you about our path on a mechanical basis. It might certainly, I think shed some light on what needs to be done for private folks, including demolition companies. We were in the days following our, house burned down. One thing I will say, we were in a slight benefit, as I'm thinking about your question, Ron. We were a slight benefit in that because no homes around us burned down, we were not in an evacuation area, right? So we were regular. You didn't need a permit to go in. Why is that relevant? I said that was why I said very quickly, let's start excavating, because if people are working across the street on building that house, there's a new house going up across the street, and they have construction there 3 days after the fire, 5 days after the fire. We should be able to clear our lot. Reached out through a builder that we're interviewing. Who should we talk to do remediation? The name they gave us was, and I'm just like, I'll just tell you the facts, not trying to, sponsor them, although they've been great for us. Is a company called Resource Environmental, and he's been a sub to, he cleaned up the village with Caruso. He cleaned up the Miramar Hotel for Caruso. He's done mosquito fires, so they usually do industrial waste cleanup. That was kind of good enough for me for those first meetings to sit down and say, how the hell do I do this? I want to clean my lot. It led to him saying early on, very early on, you need an environmental study. So what she was just referencing, he's like, you need an environmental study to study the asbestos and the 17 heavy metals that they care about, the state cares about. And what he said to me then, and this is now 3 weeks ago, he goes, there's only one thing you need, or actually one and a half things you need in the city to demo. If you want to demo your house and there's no fire, you need the environmental survey, which does what I just said it does. Once that comes back and says there's no asbestos or any heavy metal that's nasty, then you just get a licensed contractor to go, and it's treated not as hazardous, but it's treated as regular weight junk, debris, and you go drop it off in Simi Valley or wherever you drop it off. So I knew very early on that I had to do that. I reached out. There's a different company called Titan Environmental they were fantastic. Ernie over there was wonderful. You can't have it be the same company as
Survey.
the demolition company for conflict of interest purposes. So you have a different company. We reached out to Titan Environmental. I said to him, I'd like to get a survey done. It's not cheap, right? It was $3,000, $3,000 to get the survey done, $5,500 if you wanted the results back overnight. And I said, listen, and that's, at some point insurance is going to reimburse me, but you pay out of pocket, so it's not a cheap expense for something you didn't even know if you need to do. I didn't know I needed to do it. I'm just kind of trusting this guy. And he was emphatic that we needed to do it, the resource environmental guy. Went out and had Ernie run it, came back, no asbestos, no major issues on the heavy metals. There was some copper and some zinc, and so we'll talk about that if you care about the remediation of those things. some lead that was concerning to me, but the dumps would take it. So that's thing number one. No asbestos. You got to get the environmental survey. Then you get air quality control, which is a very basic thing, and they've waived that. That's traditionally, you guys have seen those
The
demo signs on
AQMD.
them. AQMD. So it's 2 week moratorium where you announce that you're gonna drive haul the waste. They're waiving that 2 week moratorium, so you get AQMD. That's just a procedural thing. It's not a real issue, right? Once you get those, then you got to get EPA. So the EPA came around 2 weeks ago. You got to get the phase one, the green sign on EPA. We got green signed very early on because I guess by luck, that's just all that was. I didn't lobby any calls. So by luck, we had the EPA. I was told they're gonna end the EPA for the entire Palisades by the 25th. So if you haven't gotten your sign yet, you should expect it at some point in the next 2 weeks. Once you get that, you're ready to go. Then you have the opt-out process. And this is where major issues happen in the last 5 days. So the opt-out process, we've all seen the opt-in, opt-out emails. 96% of people have opted in. To me, that's terrifying, right? Because we've heard it's going to take up to 18 months and $175,000 billed to your insurance if you opt in. Doesn't make any sense, right? My guy's billing me 70 grand. So it's a fraction of the cost. And I'm going to go on a quick tangent here. And I don't know the services you guys provide for Gital, for your own company's services. But these guys were like, listen, we'll send a Bobcat over to your house. We'll send
Yeah.
3 or 4 guys or gals. We'll help you sift through the stuff. We'll show you how to do it so you can find your valuables, or you can at least search and know you gave it your best college try. You want grass in your lot afterwards, which I do. We're going to hydro seed the lot and get it in 3 weeks. You're going to have grass everywhere. You want a fence to protect yourself from liability. We'll put a fence up. So it's very different. You want foundation destroyed, which a lot of people, we do. So we're rebuilding, and so new construction. So we want a new foundation. And there's also potential damage for foundations. FEMA's not guaranteeing they're going to clear your foundation. Right? FEMA's not guaranteed they're going to clean your swimming pool. So if you want to demo the swimming pool,
They're not going to clear a swimming pool.
But
they're
you
not.
mean
Okay,
the
so
Army Corps, not FEMA, right? Because FEMA's not
oh,
going to go
excuse
on
me.
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm conflating the Army Corps, FEMA, and the city. So if you choose to opt in, they're not going to clear a lot of these things, which are important to clear. By the way, environmental to me to everyone is very important. To me, my wife has an autoimmune disease. So for us, it's incredibly important. So we cared about environmental up front. We have an environmental on the back end. And I also have a clearance environmental on 3 months after debris removal to make sure that nothing floats on my lot. All that is bundled in this package bid that I told them. I created it. I said, put this together. Give me one bid. They gave me one bid. I then showed that to my insurance company. They said, fantastic. It's 75 grand, all that I just mentioned. So we get all that done. And then last Friday
Hold on one
was,
second. 75 grand. How does that compare to the cost for the Army Corps? Because they're telling people it's free, but there's some bill that comes at some point. So
not
what's the
free. So
comparison?
this should be clear. It's
Yeah.
not free, right? So the bill or the cost for the Army Corps thing, and what they've said, and again, all we're getting is generalizations. So I'm not saying that I'm the expert on how the Army Corps is itemizing these bills. I'm telling you what I've heard publicly. It costs $177,000 is what they're going to bill. Now that was said by I believe it was a state senator 2 weeks ago. We can Google it. Just type Google in 170 grand. You can find it. They said it, on a Sunday night forum 2.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
So
That
you're paying
number,
75 for a private debris removal company that's going to be done this week, and the Army Corps is going to charge $100,000 more, and it could be done in a year.
Joel, and this is again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but and I'll just say the facts, and you guys can make your own assumptions. So the facts are that the way that my understanding of the mechanics is, and there's a lot of work being done on this now, is that the $175,000, if your lot is cleaned up because you opt in, you're one of these 96% of people that opt in, you opt in, they clean your lot in 10 months, right? And they then charge your insurance company $177,000 or whatever their number is going to be, right? Your insurance company will, over a period of time, look to pay that, right? They will. This entity, whether it's the Army Corps, whether it's FEMA related, whether it's city related, that entity will turn around and subcontract that out. And those are going to like guys like Anvil or Frontalage. Frontalage, I think it's called. Those guys are contracting it out, and they're charging them probably close to what my guys are charging me, but they have scale. So I guess my guys are charging them 50 to 60. They would charge them 50 to 60 grand. So there's $100,000+ of profit made by somebody in this structure for every home. And for the 8,000 structures that burn, you're looking at $800+ million of profit. Someone along the chain is making that money. Maybe it's split up, but I'm telling you what, who's not happy is the insurance companies. And so I went so far as to talk to. We have travelers; they're amazing. So I went to talk to travelers, and this is again what I do for a living. I work with public companies, and we provide them, advice on strategic matters. And so we talked to some people, senior travelers, public company, and I said, "This makes no sense at all." I go, this is on you. You are the ones who are going to be paying this bill. And their rationale was, you're absolutely right. The way it works at the end of the day is they end up negotiating. They negotiate it down. And so they're not going to pay, the $100,000
But I
deposit, but
think
maybe they'll pay
Will, if
50,000
I'm not
extra.
mistaken, they're limited to take whatever you have on your debris line on your insurance. That's how much they limited. So for instance, my limitation is I think around $40,000. Ron is like
Yeah.
probably $50,000. That's how much they can take from the insurance. So even if the army is charging them like 170, they can take up to $40,000. Am I correct, or you heard something else?
You are. So let's just drill down on this point, which is, so your point is correct that under traditional, there's basically three kind of ways that you could, maybe I'm sure there's more, but there's three general ways in which you could have debris removal included in your homeowner insurance call, which is one, 5% of your loss of dwelling. So you mentioned 40 grand. That's, for most people, 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. It's something like that. That's one option. And that's a basic option. For some people, you can do up to 100% of your loss of dwelling, which is that first, it's called bucket A. That's what we have. That was an accident, right? That was an insurance broker upselling me on something, and I
Oh
felt for it
wait,
and
so on
climbed
your
the ticker.
insurance they can take up to like everything on bucket A?
Everything in bucket A,
Oh wow.
millions of dollars of
Think
coverage.
about how many people doesn't even know it and they opt in.
So, Oren, I asked my insurance guy today, not to get him in trouble. I don't think he would. I'd say, of all your cases, how many people have over $177,000 of coverage like me? I have millions of dollars of coverage for debris removal, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, about 80% of my clients in the Palisades, which is think about that. So about 80% of us got upsold in something we didn't understand. Whenever we put the policy in place, to have millions of dollars of coverage for debris removal, we wouldn't need. Do you think that whomever has structured this recognizes there's a huge amount of people that have a huge amount of overinsurance for debris removal? I don't know, but it's a fact.
Wait,
And when
so
you
just to
ask,
bring this, just slow it down for neophytes like me, but basically you're saying most people in the Palisades are overinsured and they can actually cover the cost of private debris removal,
They're
but they're
overinsured
opting
on
into the
debris removal, Joel.
overinsured
They're
on debris removal, and
on
on
I'm
debris
not
debris
removal.
removal.
on debris removal. I'm underinsured on everything else. I wish I was had
Yeah.
that same. I'm going to lose
Okay.
money in this trade. Right. So, but yes, on debris removal. Now, I'm giving you one case study. I don't know all the data, but based on what I've talked about, is he's saying 80% of his cases have 100% of coverage, which is millions of dollars of coverage for debris
So how
removal.
does that factor into the decision about whether to allow the Army to do it or whether to choose
Well,
your own
but let's like
contractor?
to oversimplify. If I had perfect visibility and I was an economic animal and I was a city who's about to face a lot of lawsuits for negligence and probably going to lose a lot of them and is in money making mode, and I'm looking at a swath of Palisadians. Let's use his number: 80% of Palisadians that are overinsured in this one bucket that can afford $177,000 of debris removal. I'm going to charge them that. And you get 177,000 from 80% of people, and then from the other 20% of people like Oren, I'll get 40 or 50 grand. And by the way, like that's a wonderful trade for them.
Does
And so I'm
Oren
not.
have to make up the difference? In other words, if insurance only covers up to 40 or
No,
50 grand,
No,
no, I
no.
but
don't.
what if,
But there's
okay,
also a
so
third
the Army,
bucket.
that's if you go with the Army Corps, but what about if you've got a private contractor? Obviously, if he charges you
You would.
75,
Oren
you've
would
got
have
to
to
pay the
pay.
difference.
So
We need
then
to pay.
I'll have to pay. Yeah. But
Yes.
maybe let Gital explain us what does it mean for you guys like to do it. If you had known everything now like in Ventura County, how long? Like I've been talking to Gital for the last like 10 days probably back and forth. She's trying to help us to understand this procedure. Whatever you went through, I went through with Gital. And she's been on the phone just today. I'll give you an example. Gital is like, sorry, I can't talk. I'm waiting for somebody to answer me from LA County. After 3 hours, she's calling me back. I have good news and I have bad news. I'm like, okay, what? After 3 hours, somebody answered me. I'm like, okay, great. And they told me that whoever I need to talk to is at lunch. And she
So
was like,
frustrating.
yes. So like Gital, maybe like give us like from your like you're the one that's coming with a truck, you're the one that's coming with a bobcat, you're the one that's coming and clearing it.
With the
How
excavators,
with the
exactly.
excavators and the bobcats and everything. How long will it take you to clear a house if you know what you need to do? Whatever, like let's say we need to do all the testing,
2 days.
everything.
2 days.
2 days.
Two
Okay.
days.
And a company like yours, like how many houses you guys can do like in a week, let's say?
I would say we can do in a week, like maybe like six. houses, 7 houses.
And think about how many companies like Gital's company they're out there. And Gital, do you see it costing anywhere near $100,000?
No, a lot less than that.
Well, look what you've learned. You can charge a lot more.
I know, but I won't. I won't.
Is
So
there
I
any
really,
risk? I have a question. I have a
169,000.
question for
Yeah.
Will. I have a question for Will actually, and I've been hearing this. Some people have been asking me, and I don't know the answer. Is there any risk that a year down the road, somebody is covered for 50K on their debris removal? The insurance company comes back and says, they charged us 177. Here's the difference on this bucket.
Yeah. So
Kind
the
of, you
third
see
bucket.
that a lot with medical bills, for example. And I'm just wondering to draw the equivalent. If this question is for Will or Gital, have you seen that before? And
Yes.
what do you think? Is this possible?
The third bucket. So we talked about the 5%, right? And which is some buckets. So we talked about the overinsured for this debris, which is 100% of bucket A. There's a third bucket, and the third bucket is that people have a pot of money to rebuild, and the debris removal comes out of that pot of money. I was just talking to a neighbor who has this issue. And so in that pot of money, it's $100, and it costs him $2 or $4 to do debris removal. That's just affects his rebuild costs, and rebuild costs, as you know, are crazy right now. So in that instance, Ron, I do see there's an environment where the person is directly affected based on the cost being so out of proportion. Now, is it? I think your question is more specific about retroactivity and the liability that you could have because your insurance company could come to you later. I don't. That seems far fetched to me. I'm not saying it's not possible. I've not heard that being a concern. And then, by the way, these insurance companies. I was just with my adjuster this morning. They're very, very. They are very. They know what your policy is. They're very clear about it. They detail it appropriately. Look, maybe the next level of questioning would be: is FEMA going to be billing people appropriately? I don't know the answer to that. So I don't know if Ethol has a point of view.
I have no idea how insurance companies are gonna charge or come back and bite homeowners in the ass after, honestly. But what I do know is right now, what the guidelines that they gave us, and I can share with you guys. So the first step is asbestos removal, asbestos testing, and then from there they want us basically to obtain a fire debris approval certificate in order with that certificate to go to the landfill, which they gave us two, one that's in Mid Valley near Rialto, and one is in Victorville, which is insanely far. You're like, how are we even going to haul these trash all the way there? Like, with trucks like ours, which are super heavy, it's going to take us like 4 hours to get there,
So let me
you
let me
know?
Ethol, let me just so maybe I can provide some insight. So on Friday, this was the issue that popped up for us, which is that the opt out you need to have actually a debris permit. And so if you choose to opt out, if you're one of the 4% of people who choose out, or hopefully more will start to opt out. That's what we're trying to do, trying to expedite this. The city, I we opted out on Thursday, and had the trucks ready to go on Monday for this morning. They went anyway today, but we had them ready to go Monday morning. Friday came, and my contractor was like, "Where's your debris permit?" Because the landfill's asking for it. And he goes, and that's a new thing. The landfill tradition doesn't ask for all these for a debris permit. That's very odd. Let me tell you what he said to me, Todd. You might say it's different for
It's
your
really
experience.
odd. It's really odd.
And so he said, he goes, you got to get it. He goes, I'm not really that concerned about it because no one's ever asked for it before. But like he mentioned it as you might want to look into it. I called the city hotline that you get when you put your application in. And it's 5 minutes on hold, and then sent me to a voicemail. Left a voicemail. I told my assistant just keep calling. I go, just keep calling, and when you get somebody, connect me. And so 2 hours later, she connected me. I talked to a woman, and I said it was very nice. Tiari was her name, and she was very nice, and she was walking me through everything, how it all works. I go, great. How do I get this permit? Where am I? And she goes, oh, that permit, the debris permit. She goes, it's the Army Corps' job. She's, we're not touching that. And I go, oh, okay. Well, who do I talk to there? And she gave me the number, and I called the Army Corps. And same thing, went on hold, for, I don't know, it took us an hour to get in touch with somebody. We got in touch with somebody. They then said, oh, we have no permitting rights here at the Army Corps. We don't even have a permitting capability on our computer. We don't have a database that says anything. That's the city's job. Here, call this number. They gave me the same number as before. We call back. I didn't talk to TR. I talked to someone else. Nobody had any idea. No one had any idea what I was talking about.
Yep.
And I then reached out to the mayor's office, and I had a friend who's connected to the mayor's office. I highlighted my concern, And I said exactly what we were talking about earlier. I go, this is kind of concerning to me. I don't know you. I got introduced by a warm friend who knows this to everybody. I go, I don't know you, but I'll tell you something. This feels very odd to me. And when I'm trying to get my own lot cleaned, I've gotten all the permits. I spent all this money already. I'm ready to hire somebody. And you're telling me last minute that I can't, I have to have this weird permit that's not needed. That seems like you're putting up barriers. That doesn't look great. Literally an hour later, we heard that the Sunshine Republic lot, the landfill, Sunshine landfill. Do you know what that is? He thought it's a landfill.
Yeah.
An hour later on Friday afternoon, it came out that Sunshine called our contractor and said, we were just told that we can no longer take private waste. We can only take FEMA waste. And the Sunshine contractor's like, look, this is not good for our business. We thought we were going to have a bonanza. We can take all the waste. So bring it all. We don't know why they're telling us that. So all of a sudden you have two red flags on Friday morning. One is this new debris permit that no one knows where to get it. The city doesn't even know where to get it. And then two, you have a landfill that's saying, we'd like to take your business, but we were told not to. Right?
Right. And it's
That
the same with
that
Calabasas.
Wait, who
Sorry,
told
but
them?
it's
Who told them they couldn't take the waste?
the
The city?
someone from the city called the landfill. And so what we
it's the
did,
county. It's the county.
so we escalated this rapidly. I personally escalated it rapidly on Friday, and I just was sort of like, he was like, "Look, these optics are awful." I go, "Look, we're gonna have a TV crew at our house on Monday, and like either it's gonna be we're gonna be hauling the debris and breaking things down, and the answer is gonna be like the city won't let us take this trash anywhere, or we're gonna work together." And the city's been amazing. So the last 3 days, the city has bent over backwards. I'm talking to a lot of people. I have another meeting tomorrow afternoon on sort of these issues and more, on putting together They don't even have the permit ready yet to give to anybody, by the way. So we're gonna be the first permit. I think it's coming tomorrow morning. Like we got a draft of it today. We got all that done, and it's what you'd expect: your name, your date, all that stuff, your license, your contract license, all the stuff that you'd want them to have. So on the other side of sort of what we're talking about with Ventura, I kind of get it. Like there's a lot of contaminants in the ground. Like I'm kind of okay with not having just the Home Depot, parking lot guys clean up my lot or my neighbor's lot. I kind of am okay with having someone who's familiar with hazardous waste clean up the lot. So as long as there's a structure in it, and as long as is it self-certifying? I don't know what it's gonna be, but that's the process now. So where I think things are gonna go, and I think this is just because people started bitching. I think if whether it's me, it would have been someone else. Some people started bitching and saying, "This doesn't make sense. How does this make sense?" And I'm telling you, the people we're working with very much want this to make sense. And I do think that things are going to be changing as soon as tomorrow. We're going to haul our debris. So we're hauling our debris. We're going to Simi Valley. So, and this goes back to the county. We need the county's approval to haul it to Simi Valley. The city's now saying you can haul it, approving it. And the city's going to make the call to the county on our collective behalfs
Wait,
to
so
get to go to the
So
public
Will,
waste.
all your
let me just
debris
back
is
it
on
up.
the truck already?
All our debris is in our front yard right now, sitting there.
Oh, okay.
Well, let me ask you this. So Simi Valley, you're not talking Ventura County. You're talking LA County.
It's
Or
called Republic. I'm not, I moved here 4 years ago. I don't know
no,
which
I
counties
know.
are
I don't
which.
know.
Yeah.
Simi, I'm thinking Ventura. Like there's. Let's just be sure where the landfills are.
Gital,
Because
do you know
I
which one is it in Simi Valley?
There's a landfill in Simi Valley. I can tell you the name. One moment. I'll Google
I'll
it
tell you the
out for
name
you
right now.
guys.
Hold on, I'll tell you the name right now where we're taking it.
But the thing is, so did you get a
Simi is
permit?
Ventura.
Because
So I'm trying to figure out. This goes back to a question I asked earlier, which I was sort of joking about. But
Yeah.
are you taking the waste to Ventura County after all?
We're taking it. I believe we're taking it to. It's definitely Simi Valley. I'm going to get the name of it for you.
This is already confusing. I'm going to try to summarize this and see if we
I, I
can
guess I
nail it
guess the
down.
question is, Joel, like
Yeah,
why a month and 1 day after the fires are we
right.
still not have a process? Why do we have a permit thrown in 3 days ago
Okay,
that
so
wasn't
let's just
necessary
clarify.
before?
So the permit was requested by the landfill. The landfill is in Ventura County, but they need a permit for waste from LA County. Is that what the story is?
The LA County for sure has the control over where you drop the waste, and
Okay,
LA
because I guess
County
because you're
is
taking it through LA County, even if you have to get it to Ventura County.
not sure. I don't know the details. I
Okay,
know that the
so
city
we've
the
got the
city has
county,
articulated that. Yeah.
and Gital, you also
but
mentioned the county, that the county was the problem.
right. So the Simi Valley landfill is in Simi Valley. So it's 2801 North Madeira Road.
All right.
It's
Well,
waste management. It's waste management.
all right.
So
So
by the way, just for more details to throw it on, they're bifurcating it. It looks like the soil and ash is going to Simi Valley, and Bradley landfill is going for other debris. I don't know where that is.
okay. So
But wait, I have a question for you, Will.
yeah.
So you didn't need to take out a demo permit?
So we have not received a debris hauling permit. The opt out, when you fill in the application, they send you an email.
Right.
On the back of that, they have a new permit they're creating as we speak. And it's going to be effectively what it's supposed to marry uh, the county's approval to drop the waste and the city's approval that your contractor's okay. And so that's the debris removal permit.
It's a declaration page.
It's going to be a permit. So you submit the application detailing your licensed contractor information. They then will review that, make sure they're cleared for hazmat or whatever it is. They then say, "Great, you're good," and they slap you with a permit the opt out permit, and it's one permit. It's debris removal and it's debris dropping, and it marries the city's requirements to have a licensed contractor with the county's requirements, I presume, on the landfill. So
Okay. So,
I've
but the
not received that
landfill,
yet.
I just looked it up. This landfill, the Simi Valley landfill, is in Ventura County. So you're getting a permit from some entity in LA. It sounds like LA County, although you're getting help from the city.
Mhm.
Some permit to take waste from LA County into Ventura County.
That's
And
correct.
Sounds
okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So let's just work this backwards. So the landfill needs a permit to put the waste there. You had to jump through the hoops and someone had to create this permit. Was that the city or the county? Just remind me.
It's a city.
The city created a permit for a landfill in another county, and you're getting another permit, which is a permit that I guess substitutes for the demolition permit, but this permit allows you to transport the material to the place where you need another permit to leave it,
And
basically.
it's effectively what it is. It's the last filter before you're able to clean your lot, because it also asks for environmental. So it asks for the asbestos cleanliness.
And
It
you've got
asks
to
for
do
that
that yourself
report.
as well.
You gotta do it yourself. So when you show them that report, you give them the license information of that
And who
contractor
does
as
that
well.
report? You hire a contractor who knows how
Yeah,
to.
that's the
Yeah.
Titan Environmentals who we hired, and that's the $3,000. Yeah.
It's any survey company. They take anywhere between 1,500. I did the research between 1,500 to 4,500. That's the price range. They're extremely expensive. Like the price gouging in California is insane right now. Usually, if you go to any demo house before I demo a house, they usually charge $900 for testing. So from $900 to $4,500,
Wow.
it's
I was blown
extremely
away.
high.
I was told it cost $500, and we got the quote as 3,000,
Yeah,
$2,600, and I got billed 3,200 for some reason. So okay.
it's
I think
extremely
if you add
high.
all of this, I think if you add all of this up, Joel, like what it sounds to me is like they're trying, maybe, there's certain segments that are trying to be helpful, but this is not a simple process. And what it's going to lead to at the end result will be most people will say, I don't want to deal with any of this. I'm going to opt in and get out of the way because I don't want to be dealing with this. And we're talking here about people that are in the crevices of what's happening. Will is like probably is going to get the first permit in all of this, and he's confused still about some of
No,
this
we are. They
process.
told me
So
we're drafting
yeah,
the goddamn document. I mean, we're going to get the
yeah.
first permit.
So
Yeah.
what's going to end up happening here is like 95% of people are going to opt in because they're just too confused about the process. When I go back to the Trump press conference, we just said, let us go in there and get this shit out. That's literally what he said tomorrow.
I want to oversimplify this because it needs to be oversimplified. You really need to do a couple things. You got to get your environmental permit, and you got to opt out. That's all you got to do. Once you do those things, and you got a contractor, right? And there's a lot of them. We got a great one on this call. So that's it. It's not that tough. And is it complicated? For sure. But at the same time, we started a website. It's larenewal.com. We're putting it all out there. Like the entire playbook. It's all free. I'm not, you send me an email, I'll send you the entire playbook, all the contractors, Gital, if you want to be included in there. Fantastic.
I already submitted myself into your
Fantastic.
program.
And we have dozens of people who've already signed up today. And so my goal in this is, by the way, if you want to opt in and you don't want to do anything, then fantastic. God bless you. Or you're underinsured and you don't want to pay the extra 30 grand 40 grand, this is going to cost you. Fantastic. Like amazing. That's not, the private side is not going to be an option for you. But if you are one of the fortunate ones to have maybe been lucky enough on debris removal like I wasn't smart on that. That was just luck. I just agreed to whatever the broker sold me. Then this is an option that for me is going to be significantly more valuable. And for others, I think might fit in that too.
Let me ask you, Will, just because this is difficult and it's hard to understand even after sitting with you and hearing, although you've certainly clarified it to a great degree. Is it daunting to have to fill out all these things? I mean, having done it now, and maybe you have more things coming, who knows, hopefully not, but having done it now, would you recommend that people just stick it through and do this if they're in a similar position to you?
So, I've said this many times to my friends who are like laughing at me as I go through this. First of all, I don't give a shit if my lot's cleaned up today or in 3 months. We're building a new house. Like we got new architectural drawings. It's gonna be time. This turned into like a little bit of the sojourn of, how do we break down all these walls to make it easy for people that are asking about it? And so one thing leads to another. Now it's a snowball, and now I'm like so deep into this that it's like, what a waste of my time over the last 3 weeks. However, your question, I actually think the playbook, we are helping to write the playbook, and that's not factually. We are working with the city to make it easy, and the right people, I think, in the city want this to be easy. Now, again, it's just the environmental permit. Get a contractor and get the opt out. So, how tough is that? Now, with that being said, it might be easier for you or for a 93-year-old grandmother or for somebody who has a second home in New York City and they love to go to the city and they can just be there for 4 years to not give a shit about, or they don't want to rebuild back, or there's a million different cases where it might make sense for you just to chill and wait for the city to come. Now, I would personally be mindful of the environmental risk on the back of that. I don't think they're going to do as good a job as the private contractors would do, but that's so it's highly personal. I think that our job, my job as I've seen it, is just how do we articulate to people? It's not that tough. It's been very complicated, but I do hope that most of the navigating has kind of been broken down now, and we can simplify it and distill it down and give people links to, approved vendors. So use I don't know them, but use them. They qualify. Here's the Here's the link to opt out, and here's contractors like he taught like, out,
But they keep confusing us because today came out a new protocol that's called bridge fire debris removal. Have you seen this, Will?
I've not no, I've not seen it.
Okay, so this is like a new protocol thing, and again, they're confusing us. So now there's going to need an inspection before you haul out the debris. The inspector's going to come out. He's going to tell us this goes to the landfill, this goes to recycling. Like we know our job. Like let us work, it's just
I
incredible,
think I think like anything, you have to go
crazy.
fast. You got to go fast because they're going to set up. What we're talking about is new barriers that are set up every day, and every day there's new barriers set up. And if I didn't threaten to have the news stations there, I don't know what they would have done. We did threaten that, and they did take action. And now the Army Corps is saying they're going to start cleaning up the homes tomorrow. Oh, that's way in fast forward now. So that was supposed to be in 2 months, and now they're saying they're going to clean up one home tomorrow,
So
just
you
so that
think
they
because the
can.
media attention, they accelerated everything?
I don't know. It's impossible to say, but I
I've
will
seen
tell
that
you that
pattern over and over again. I mean, when Rick
pressure
Grinnell was
pressure
here,
helps,
yeah,
and when
yeah.
like podcasts like this help, the TV stuff helps. Like it's a he taught getting out there with your clients and saying this is bullshit. Like let us clean the lots. Trump being here helped. Like it is frustrating if you've gone down into a whole other conversation about the permitting, the 30-day permitting. That's not happening either. So that's the next step. How are we going to attack that? And so this is the start, and this is what I was saying to the KTLA lady. I'm like, this is the start of many, many stories where I call you and I say, we got another thing to talk about. Because I don't have any confidence that this administration has any wherewithal to go through with all these commitments that seem sensible to you and I.
Let me ask something of Gital, and then I want to bring in Ron for a second. But Gital, first of all, for those people who are listening to the podcast instead of watching it on YouTube, you show up, you've got beautifully manicured nails, you look ready to knock a building down. I mean,
So ready.
all right, so you show up there and you get this done, but you've had amazing interest from people, but you haven't been able to start yet. That's what you said at the beginning.
We haven't even been able to give out pricing properly until today, because only today we received two landfills, which are extremely far away. I'm gonna look at Simi Valley tomorrow. I'm gonna give them a call tomorrow, but as of now, the landfills that they gave us are extremely far. Clients are been asking me for quotes. I don't even know how to quote it, Like
It's too
Yeah,
it's
so
far
for
for you
the
to quote.
layman,
It's just too
it's all
far.
like you can't quote them if you don't have the landfill communication. So that's what's been the problem.
exactly.
So that's what I
Exactly.
didn't
I,
realize.
I
Yeah.
don't want to overestimate anybody and I don't want to underestimate anybody. So it's been really frustrating and very confusing. And I'm sure that many contractors like me are like trying to figure out, and people are just throwing out numbers which are not accurate. Me as a contractor, that's what I feel, that homeowners are the number one here right now. And for me to help them, I need to know, how do I handle this debris? Where do we take it? And taking it to Victorville, 4 hours away from here. No, it's
Doesn't
it's
make any sense.
insane. It's
It doesn't make
Gital,
any
insane.
can you
By
sense.
can
the
you
way,
give us an
a
example
stat
of
that blew my
of a
mind. The stat that blew my just quickly. A stat that blew my mind, and Gital, you know this, is my house, which is 5,800 square feet, is gonna have 500,000 pounds of debris. And you're gonna say that's not true. And you're gonna Google it right now, and you're like, oh, that actually, how is that possible? The amount of debris here is so significant that to drive it to Victorville, however far that is, 4 hour total round trip drive, like it is. Why are we doing it that way? And then you're going to say to yourself, why are we putting on the beach? Why do we have the beach as a holding spot for hazardous waste? Like what? We don't have answers to these questions. It's not our job to get understand those questions. But I will tell you that we should not be driving it to landfills 2 hours away.
Where's the Army Corps going to dump the debris? Does anybody know?
I was told Will Rogers would be the holding spot for a day, and they're trying to figure
No,
out where
this
to
is for
put
stage
all.
one. Will, this is for stage one only. They're talking
Yeah,
about Topanga and PCH, I think. That's what
they
I
told me
saw that
yesterday
they're.
Tobanga's temporary too. So I think they're trying
Yeah.
to figure it out.
It
Okay.
makes sense that it's temporary. It doesn't make sense to me that the Army Corps gets to dump it there and the private contractors that are helping out this effort don't. Because that would make a lot of sense to let them dump
Oh,
it in the
Ron,
same
when they
place.
told us, you know me, I almost lost my mind. When they told me that a landfill had gotten a call and they were shutting down private debris droppings, I almost went to City Hall myself. Like that is
Hmm.
a
I
shot in the
spoke with
face.
Calabasas
Yeah.
today. And they're trying to get in the process of getting approved. And Calabasas is just, maybe like 15 minutes away. 15 minutes away. Very simple. They charge very, a normal price, but they're not approved yet. So that's another thing. Like, why not bring it to places that are very close by? Why so far away? You know, it's just
I do know the city's working on it. I think this goes to how we started the call with the city county interfacing, and they're not on the same page. But I'm telling you, the city's trying,
So the
and
city's
so
trying, but I haven't seen the county supervisors at many of these public meetings. I mean, maybe they just need to be brought in more
maybe it's
because,
a call. Maybe it's a call to the Horvath, and it's like let's
yeah,
just figure this out, and maybe we do that tomorrow, right?
so
yeah,
today when I spoke with the LA County, they with not even LA County, it was with the fire debris hotline, and then I moved to LA County because I currently got a permit for Oren for his property. And what they told me, I'm like, okay, what's going to go on with the soil? And they're like, we're not even that phase yet. We don't even have a guidelines for the soil yet, and we don't have guidelines for erosion control yet. That's going to be the third phase. So
Can we
why
send
not
them what
just
Ventura
release it
did and
up?
just copy and paste? Like copy paste what
So
Ventura did. It's
simple.
not that complicated.
So simple.
wow. So this goes to a question I asked General Kelly. We had a discussion after the big event last Thursday, and I said, can you assure me that homeowners who opt out are not going to be under pressure to opt in? Like there's not going to be some kind of peer pressure or pressure from the Army Corps. But what you're telling me, Will, is that the way they've set it up, it's so hard right now. I mean, you're basically breaking down the barriers, but it's so hard if you're doing the private debris removal just to do it because they keep throwing up obstacles in your face that a lot of people are going to opt in and do the Army Corps.
Well, remember, the way they conditioned it, and again, I'm not trying to like allege that there's nefarious behavings here just for $100,000 of profit at home. But I'm telling you, the way that they structured it makes you think that. The way they structured it, which is opt in, You can always opt in, or you can always opt out once you opt in. But if you choose to opt out, you can never ever opt in. Okay, well maybe I just opt in then. I don't know. And so there's that natural, momentum to opt in. Most people erroneously think that once they decide if they can opt in, and they got to do it by March 31st, and once they decide to opt in, if they later choose to opt out, then they'll be fine. Well, that's not true either, because we were just told we have to get a permit. That's all new. So I think the punchline on all
It's
this
two
is,
permits. It's two permits. You're going to need a demo permit because you're demoing foundation, and you're going to need to get that certificate of hauling the debris out. So it's basically two that you need to
well,
deal
remember you
with.
told them they're going to put it together. They said today they're putting it together as one. So
And
we'll
Will,
see.
Let's see.
when you go to get the permit, do you physically go to City Hall or can you go to the Disaster Recovery Center? I mean, where are you getting these permits?
But I did all like, just through a PDF online today. So I presume that there's going to be an online process to just submit, because they really only want a couple things. They want your address, they want who your contractors are, are they qualified to do this, and then some
Does it
basic
cost a lot to
representations.
filing fees and all that?
I haven't paid anything yet.
Okay. And let me ask Ron something because I know this is Ron's area of expertise. I mean, is there a way to make this more efficient than it is right now?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I could think of 100 ways that this could be more efficient. I can't think of many ways that it can be more inefficient. I think like we should have started early. And basically, there is a process. That's the thing. There is a process. Gital deals with it every day. The process should have been left as it is. Yes, we have bigger volume, and we have different incidents, but there are fires that happen every day. Houses burn every day. Am I right, Gital? Like,
Right.
we have a process for this. Yet they are, it seems to me, and again, not to put on a tinfoil hat, that there is something else at play here. I don't know what it is, but the fact that we're a month past the incident and we're just stacking on barriers, and it's just very, very suspicious to me. There is a process. It should have been followed to begin with. And I think by now,
I don't know. How
people would
about
have been already
the
clearing
how
their
about the
lots.
insurance companies aren't charged for the cleanup? How about it's on FEMA and the city or the federal government? How about that? How about where there's no discussion about money? Because why would there be a discussion about money? How about it's not 18 months? How about, I reached out to Resource and I said, hey, can you do 1,000 homes? How fast can you do 1,000 homes? Same question you asked Gital. Gital, jump in. I mean, and he goes, I can do 1,000 homes, but get a bunch of subs. I can do that in 3 months. I said, what if we get 5 of those? And like we have the whole goddamn place cleaned up by the end of summer. We have grass planted, and we're off and running. And like that's not that tough. And you do it for 60,000 a house, not 170. And the government doesn't charge your insurance company. But last I checked, we're trying to keep the insurance companies in California. We're not trying to gouge them and push them out further. So,
Right.
They're going to leave either way. They're going to leave.
And
I don't know.
Joel,
I'm
you
not so
had a, you
convinced.
had a you had a clip from Rick Grinnell last time on the podcast where he's saying you're thinking about bringing in one contractor, bring in three, bring in four, bring in five. Like that's exactly what we needed to do a month ago. We're not doing it, and we're stacking on more barriers. And this is just the first part of like a large rebuilding effort. It's not a good sign for what's to come.
Well, we have to
I
have,
don't want to
yeah.
end on a note of pessimism. If I could be optimistic about something, it's that the call to action has been heard, and maybe it's just my own little story, but I'm telling you, there's going to be changes. It's going to be better, and it's just because it's you know somebody was able to kind of galvanize a TV truck to show up in the front of a and I had a contractor crazy enough, Gital, and you might have never done this, but he's crazy enough and he's super Republican. He's like, I don't give a shit. Let's go. And okay, so you had a combative contractor. That, but hey, by the way, guess what? Change is coming. And so, by the way, guess what? I'm not losing the microphone. We got more to do. And so, if our job ends up being that we're gonna go build this back collectively, it's us against them. We're gonna win because we have too many resources, and we're unlike any other community that's gone through this before, and we're fortunate that way. And so, we have people like all of you guys who are getting on. How many podcasts were created after Paradise? I get none. I think that the ability to grab the megaphone in the way that we all collectively are is so important, and we don't stop that. And what's going to happen is momentum is going to help, and we're going to get the federal government involved. And you guys are close to Rick, it sounds like, and everything I've heard is that he's the right guy to talk to. Well, let's get the federal government involved. Like let's build and let's mimic what they did after 9/11. You have an independent third party council that acts on behalf of the federal government to allocate all the remediation, and the city has no part in it, and the state has no part in it. You know, So anyway,
The most important thing is when you're standing and to decide if to opt in or to opt out, not to fall in the pressure, because there's always people that would love to help. I love to help my clients, my homeowners with from A to Z, like, and I take my time to do it. And I'm sure that there's thousands like me that would love to help homeowners with no charge, to just help them with the process, for them not to opt in, and they can do it by opting out. And I really hope that people are not going to get pressured into this, and in order for them to just opt in, and for the military or FEMA or whoever it is to take the money out of the insurance companies.
And the
So,
numbers we're talking about
yeah.
are ridiculous. And maybe Gital, can you share with us, like, let's say the fire that happened in Ventura County, 3,000 square foot in Ventura County a few months ago. How much were you guys charging for a house like this? Like, again, like give and take,
Give and take, I would say approximately like 40,000, including the foundation removal.
Okay. Okay, so talking about $170,000, per house over here is like I don't understand where did they get this number from.
Let's wrap quickly with an opportunity for Will, if you want to share any contact information, if people want to follow what you're doing or learn more about it, and then Gital, of course, if you want to tell people where they can approach you. So Will, you go for it, and then Gital.
yeah, so we started a website. We're kind of doing a lot. The basic website right now is larenewal.com. If you go to that website, and it's just getting built, frankly, put your email addresses in. We've already had dozens of people today, which is great. And that's just on the cleaning of the lots. It's very basic. We're doing other things too, and that's on the come. And so we just, my wife, we just raised $1.7 million for the firefighters. And so that's pretty
Amazing.
interesting. It's amazing work she did. And now we're going to go to Will Rogers. So we just sat down with the head of California State Parks, Armando Quintero, who's an amazing guy and wants to do with the community. He wants to do something at Will Rogers that's representative of Will Rogers and what the community wants. And so I told Armando we're going to recruit a citizen council. So hey, what can we do at Will Rogers to make it better? Do we build up all the way the barn's coming back? Like, what do we do with the polo fields? All the stables are coming back. Like, civic center stuff. What do we do with the Palisades Rec Center? Like, just go to the website, put your email and address in. We're working on home insurance too. We're talking to a lot of the leadership at some of the largest insurance companies. They are coming back, Gital, and they're going to
I
come back,
hope.
and we're going to backstop. We're going to backstop coverage. So we're working on backstopping, working with one of the largest insurance companies in the world right now. And I'll just give you a little preview. And the announcement's going to be they will backstop coverage for any new homeowner, and homeowner insurance coverage, including fire, not including earthquake, which is separate anyway right now. Backstop home insurance coverage for anyone that needs it at a predetermined price per square foot. It's going to be expensive. So we're talking $5 to $6 a square foot is sort of what we're talking now. They're going through underwriting. So, but subject to you as a homeowner doing these 7 things, 10 things, whatever it is, you have coverage. So if you have sprinklers in your house, if you have smoke detectors in your house, whatever it is, you're going to have coverage at a certain amount that allows you to have confidence to rebuild. And
I
so
can tell you that my house, I live in West Hills, and we got dropped from our insurance company because they told us that they're leaving California, and I've been with them for 5 years. And then for me to
who was
find
that? Who
new,
was that?
like maybe like 7 months ago,
And who's the
and then
company?
Safeco,
Okay, Safeco. Yeah.
they left California. And then for me to find new insurance, nobody's writing new policies in California. So I needed to get a company that's outside of California and to pay like almost $8,000 a year for insurance. It's
Yeah.
insane. But that's a
It
whole
is.
different story.
No, but I'm telling you this, you asked about content information. There's a lot of things we're working on that our job as I see it, and we look. I just joined Patrick Soon-Shiong's council. He's at the LA. He's the owner of the LA Times. He really cares about how to make a direct impact. I just met with Caruso. Like, he's obviously doing his own thing. He really cares about making an impact. There's a lot of good things happening by focusing on direct impacts. Right, the LA Lakers are sponsoring a rebuild of the Pali Rec Center. Like, that's going to be amazing. And I'm not involved in that project, but I've heard about it. And it's $20 million. They get to build the best in class sports facilities in the country for our kids at the Pali Rec Center. This is happening. And so these
That's
stories are
amazing.
happening. And it's our job. I think our job is to
Good
help
people.
these discrete, very, very pointed. What can we help with? I can't make the Palisades its own city. That's, we're going to work on that later. But what we can do is we can clean fucking houses, and then we can get the insurance sorted, and we can't, so anyway, and so any way we can help, larenewal.com. You can find me directly there. But thrilled to be on this podcast, guys. I think what you're doing is fantastic. And it's how do we continue to motivate people? And the more of this, the better.
Gital, how do we find out about what you are up to and how to use your services?
You can definitely give us a call, 818-261-6057. You can go through our Instagram page on Tom of the Line Demolition and my website at tomofthelinedemolition.com. We can definitely figure out and help homeowners get this through together. That's the whole point, to make it as easy and smooth as possible and fast. So we're trying, we're pushing, and hopefully things are going to start moving this week to good ways, so we can get out there and start cleaning everything out.
So it's larenewal.com, Will, and then Gital, it's Tom of the Line Demolition, TOMOFTHELINEDEMOLITION.com.
Correct.
All right, listen, this has been amazing. I want to thank Ron and Oren also for pulling this panel together. Our first guest, it's been incredibly informative, and obviously there are still some questions. So we'll have to have you guys back on to talk about the progress that you're making.
I would love to.
Yeah, and just seeing what's happening, because that's what this is all about. Oren, Ron, any closing thoughts before we round out this episode?
No, thank you. Amazing insights. I'm sure we'll have you guys back on. You said, and Will, it sounds like we have an insurance episode. We should invite you on as well, which we have coming up. But keep up the great work, and we'll try to keep our audience obviously updated about this as we go through the process together.
Okay, this has been Three Homeless Guys. We're at threehomelessguys.com. And the email, if you want to reach us and suggest topics or ask questions, is pod@threehomelessguys.com. For now, this is Joel, Ron, and Oren signing off.